Why do Sunni and Shia Muslims, followers of the same religion, often find themselves in conflict? Today, we're diving into the historical roots and ongoing tensions between the two major sects of Islam, Sunni and Shia. We'll explore the origins of their split, the fundamental differences in their beliefs, and how these have shaped the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. If you find this video interesting, please support us by liking the video and subscribing to our channel. Now, let's get started. When you think of the Middle East, what comes to mind? Some of you might wonder why there is so much conflict there, or why there is hostility between followers of the same religion. Indeed, Middle Eastern countries often engage in conflicts with each other. This past January, Iran and Pakistan mobilized missiles and drones in an air raid, raising concerns that the war might spread across the Middle East. Why is it that countries within the same Islamic cultural sphere are clashing? The reason lies in the division and opposition between the Sunni and Shia sects. Iran and Pakistan are prime examples of this conflict. Both countries identify as Islamic states, but Iran is predominantly Shia, with Shia Muslims making up 90% of its population, while Pakistan is a Sunni-majority country. Despite both being part of Islam, Sunni and Shia Muslims are highly antagonistic towards each other. In fact, the very strife in the Middle East can be attributed to the conflict between these two sects. The relationship between Sunnis and Shias is so strained that it makes the relationship between Islam and Christianity seem amicable in comparison. Unlike followers of other religions, Sunnis and Shias view each other as traitors, heretics, and apostates. For instance, marriage between Sunni and Shia Muslims is almost unheard of. Furthermore, while food prepared by other religions or countries can be certified as halal and sold as such, Sunnis and Shias do not recognize each other's slaughtered meat as halal, refusing to eat it because it was handled by someone from the opposing sect. So, how did the Sunnis and Shias come to be divided? And why did their relationship become so adversarial? The roots of the Sunni-Shia split date back more than 1400 years. In 632 AD, the founder of Islam, Muhammad, passed away, leading to significant confusion and conflict within Islam. The chaos stemmed from Muhammad's failure to designate a successor to lead the Islamic community, leaving the remaining people to appoint a successor themselves. Ultimately, Islam split into two sects, Sunni and Shia, due to differing views on the appointment of a caliph, the successor or representative of Muhammad. Sunnis believed that a capable individual from within the Islamic community should be chosen through consensus, while Shias insisted that the caliph should be a descendant of Muhammad. In essence, Sunnis prioritized competence, while Shias emphasized lineage. This disagreement arose from their differing interpretations of the caliph's role. Sunnis held that the prophecy ended with Muhammad, and the caliph was merely his representative, a leader of the Islamic State and the highest religious authority. Therefore, the caliph did not need to be a descendant of Muhammad. They also believed that the caliph did not have the authority to independently interpret the Quran or make legal decisions. Conversely, Shias viewed the caliph as the one who interprets and applies the divine words conveyed by Muhammad, making the position inherently sacred and, thus, rightfully reserved for Muhammad's descendants. Which side do you think is correct? If you value efficiency, you might side with the Sunnis. If you value legitimacy, you might side with the Shias. It ultimately depends on what you consider important. At the time, Muhammad had no sons, so the Shias supported Ali ibn Abi Talib, Muhammad's cousin and son-in-law. As a result of the power struggle between the two sects, the first caliph was chosen. The first caliph was Abu Bakr, Muhammad's most trusted advisor. The second caliph was Umar I, who initially persecuted Muhammad but became his devoted follower after converting to Islam. The third caliph was Uthman, Muhammad's son-in-law, and the fourth caliph was Ali, the only blood relative of Muhammad. These four caliphs, known as the rightly guided caliphs, ruled the Muslims based on the Quran and Sunnah. It is important to note that the first three caliphs were Sunnis and not related by blood to Muhammad. Sunnis likely felt victorious. Though the Sunni and Shia sects were distinct by the time of the third caliph, they were still united under Islam. However, the fourth caliph, Ali, a Shia, was Muhammad's only blood relative. Had the Sunnis and Shias alternated in selecting caliphs, the conflict might not have been as severe. But this possibility was shattered when Ali was assassinated by Sunnis after 5 years in power. Ali's eldest son was also killed by Sunnis. Subsequently, the fifth caliph was Muawiyah, the cousin of the third caliph Uthman. As he was not of Muhammad's lineage, his supporters were Sunnis. Muawiyah rejected the caliphate nomination process and declared that his son would succeed him, making the split between the sects irreversible. Eventually, Ali's younger son, Hussein, led a rebellion in 680 AD, sparking an all-out conflict between Sunnis and Shias over the caliphate. This conflict, known as the Battle of Karbala, saw Hussein, his relatives, and his supporters brutally massacred by the Sunnis. Due to this series of events, Sunnis and Shias became irreconcilable enemies, and Muhammad's lineage was completely cut off. As a result, the victorious Sunnis in battle became the Muslim majority, while the Shias became a minority with grievances. A situation that persists to this day. However, how did the Shias maintain their unity and avoid being misunderstood or absorbed by the Sunnis during the period when Muhammad's lineage had ended? In other words, with the end of Muhammad's lineage, there seems to be no reason for the Shias to exist anymore. The reason the Shias still exist today is that they do not acknowledge Ali's death. The Shias believe that Ali is alive somewhere in hiding and will return someday. Even now, 1400 years later, the Shias do not acknowledge the Sunnis and are waiting for Ali. Therefore, the Shias do not recognize the first 3 Sunni caliphs and see them as usurpers of power. They recognize only the 4th caliph, Ali, as the legitimate caliph and appointed him as the first imam of the Shia. Here, the term imam means a leader in Islam. The Sunnis maintain a caliphate system for Islamic leaders, while the Shias adhere to an imam system. Although there are imams in Sunni Islam as well, the roles and meanings of Sunni imams and Shia imams are entirely different. Originally, imam was synonymous with caliph and meant leader, but in Sunni Islam, it has been reduced to mean the leader of the religious community. When Sunni Muslims gather in a mosque for worship, the imam leads the worship and guides the believers. Unlike Christianity, which has pastors, Catholicism, which has priests, and Buddhism, which has monks, Islam does not have clergy. This is because Muslims believe that all people are equal and can communicate directly with God. However, when they gather for worship, someone needs to lead the worship, so the imam fulfills the role of clergy. When Sunni Muslims perform collective worship, they select the most exemplary person among the gathered believers to act as the imam. Thus, the position of imam is not a permanent seat or office but a role that changes with each collective worship. Most Sunni imams have other professions and return to their original jobs after conducting worship as imams in the mosque. Of course, in larger mosques, a resident manager is needed, so there are cases where specially trained imams are present. However, in principle, all adult Muslims are qualified to lead worship as imams, and no special clerical process or ceremony is required to become an imam. However, the Shias do not call a mere leader of worship an imam. As mentioned earlier, the Shias appointed Ali, the 4th caliph, as their first imam. And for them, an imam is a divine representative who has inherited special spiritual authority like Ali. In summary, while the imam in Sunni Islam is a temporary position that anyone can hold, in Shia Islam, the imam is an absolute position appointed by God. Although Sunnis and Shias share the Quran and basic doctrines, they have fundamental differences that prevent them from getting along. The two sects, which have alternated between peace and conflict for a long time, entered the 20th century and found themselves in more complex relationships due to the Arab-Persian conflict, oil, and the intervention of superpowers. In 1926, the Sunni majority and Western-style monarchy Saudi Arabia was established. In 1979, the Islamic Revolution in Iran, the center of Shia Islam worldwide, led to the establishment of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Sunni Middle Eastern countries united around Saudi Arabia, while Shia Middle Eastern countries united around Iran. In this context, the two countries, representing Shias and Sunnis, have engaged in proxy wars. by intervening in domestic conflicts in countries like Yemen and Syria. In other words, religious conflicts have extended over 1400 years into international political struggles for hegemony in the Middle East. Historically, many wars have erupted due to religious conflicts, so this is not a surprising story. However, for those of us living in modern times, it is somewhat unfamiliar. We hope that, decades or centuries from now, people in the Middle East will look back and say, such things happened back then. And it is hard to understand them in the peaceful times we live in now. It is ironic that religions, which should aspire to love and peace, have historically been fraught with conflicts. This has been a discussion on the reasons behind the conflicts between the two major sects of Islam, Sunnis and Shias. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insightful content. Take care and see you in the next video. Goodbye.